Apparently, I've been told I do the intro too fast by one particular person. So we're going to do a little bit slower this time, just for them. Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything Workspace by the tabGeeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. That just was painful. That hurt me.
That was a little bit. I think that was a little too slow. It's got to be somewhere.
I don't have a middle
in between
speed.
The other one. Somewhere
Hey
in between
everyone,
those two.
Welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source. Here we go. I need a metronome. Your number one source for everything Workspace by the tabGeeks Network. So Steve spent the day hanging out with a bunch of Googlers in anticipation of the Google Workspace Developer Summit in Chicago tomorrow, or today, because this episode won't air until tomorrow, where we, Google Workspace Recap, are going to actually be highlighted. So that's very exciting for us and a huge accomplishment. Thank you very, very much to our buddy Charles Maxon, who has previously been on the show, and you may recognize him from his show, Totally Unscripted, although I'm not entirely certain he's still publishing it, so we're going to have him back on the show to get an update. Now, Steve, you're looking nice and googly from hanging out with the Googlers over there.
Yes. Yeah, it was a nice little day today. It was actually the Google Developers Group here in Chicago. Had a little meetup and
GDG.
GDG. And it's actually I pulled up one of the pages for one of their previous events, and I looked at the photo. I'm like, wait a minute, that's my office. 1871. This is obviously an event. Actually, I think it's the About page. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the About page on the meetup on meetup.com.
Oh, that's funny.
They were at our offices, yeah.
Well, why did they do it today? That would have been super convenient for you.
Well, I think it's because they probably haven't kept in touch with the people that previously maybe hosted it and organized it at 1871. So
was it at the Google offices today?
No, it was at offices nearby the Google offices. Yeah. The Aero Group, I think, is who it was with.
I feel like if you're going to go big or go home, it may as well be at Google, you know?
Well,
they have big, beautiful offices in Chicago.
Yeah, but I think it's about getting the space and approvals and on a regular basis. And yeah, so it was over the Aspen Group. The Aspen Group is where it was at. So they were hosts of today's event, and I should have noticed that on the event page because I didn't get a close enough look. Actually,
just noticed
it now. Yeah.
Well, next time, hook it up.
And actually, the image of the event for the group is Wesley Chun, who was the speaker today. I can see the slide and his face in the logo. So that's Wesley Chun, if any of you follow like the Google developers YouTube channel, Wesley Chun was a developer advocate, primarily focused on a lot of workspace APIs and things like that. So he was there talking about developing with Google APIs, and got to learn a little bit of the ins and outs of working with those. So it was a good session, and he'll actually be over at the Google event tomorrow, even though he isn't. He's kind of doing his own thing now. He's no longer with Google, but he was there for many, many years, looking back. So, yeah, there'll be a bunch of colleagues of mine that I worked with there, some that have moved on to other roles, some that are now working at Google, and other people from other Google partners, things like that. So it should be a good day over there in the morning, starting around 9 to 1 over in the Chicago office. And yeah, I don't know, anything else you want to add before we get into the details of today's episode?
I did have one little tiny item to address, more so for the podcast world, actually, because on YouTube, you already see the new thumbnail design that we've had for a little while, but now we have a new show logo that matches said updated thumbnail design. So it's a little bit punchier, a little bit easier to see, jumps out at you, and it has our smiling faces on it. So when you go to look for the show and you're like, where is Workspace Recap? Why is it gone? I need my fix. Just know that you have to look for a new updated logo. It is in googly colors, so they're much more formidable and bold than it was before. So definitely go and check that out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, so we had like a black or white background before.
White background. It was
right?
it was
more
closer
like lighter.
matching the Google Workspace logo and layout, and now it's
Yeah.
more just Google colors with more our brand. I will be updating the social media handles. Not that we use them all that frequently, but I do want to start doing more of that. But I need to make a circular version of it because Twitter, and I am not paying for the $100 a month or $1,000 a month, whatever it is, for the business account to get access to the Square profile photo. That's a thing on Twitter now, is that businesses can pay for a business.
1,000?
Yeah. So it's not Blue. Blue is $8 a month. That's fine. Actually, funny story about Blue. I paid for Blue on iOS. Twitter's like, you get early access to things and better features. And supposedly one day, if Elon comes through, we'll see. Don't hold your breath for now, I suppose. Half the ads. I would rather no ads, but, I guess that'll be a different tier later on. But I'm getting it for free now, actually, because they said they were raising the prices if you do it through iOS because Apple wants a 30% cut. And so they said, do it through the web. I was like, all right, I'll do it through the web. So he cancels it on iOS, and it never actually canceled. So I have Twitter Blue for free. But I'm not paying for the business account that gives you the Square profile photo, which would fit our new branding quite nicely, because that's just ridiculous. If we were much larger on Twitter as a brand, then sure, fine, maybe I'll think about it. But
oh yeah, I see some brands have Square logos.
Yeah.
Like Google Cloud's got
Google
one,
Cloud.
Microsoft's got one.
Yeah, Tesla of course has one. Twitter has one. So yeah, that's one of the new Twitter updates. So, and contrary to common belief, Twitter is not dead yet. So I love Twitter. I'm still on it every day. It does get a little hokey at times when things break or whatever, but a lot of people still using it, including me. So. But yeah, that was the other big news. There is the new show branding.
Nice.
That's it.
All right.
Yep.
Yes, that logo will feature itself tomorrow in tomorrow's event. So
be sure to
All right.
take video of it so that we can release it to everybody.
Yes, hopefully we can do some videos. I'm sure it'll be fine. Looking at updates for this week, relatively, average week in terms of updates. We had 4 during the week and 1 here at the end of week recap post. So first one that stuck in there at the end is that there's some additional details for the updated Gmail experience on Android foldable devices and tablets. First one that came out last week is that you can now indicate your Google Voice availability with a few more options. There's also a new refreshed interface for Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, and Slides. And there's some new updates here for Google Meet on Poly Android based appliances. And then finally, you now have managed Android devices need to upgrade to Android device policy during the March 2023 time period here. And then a lot of stuff here in the news. I was just looking through the list here. I was surprised you don't have anything related to SVB at all. Given its impact on the tech and startups and all that stuff.
Google related per
luckily,
se. I did follow it very closely though.
Not necessarily. I don't know. Actually, a very big Google reseller was impacted by it though. Yes, so not a reseller that you may necessarily associate with Google, but it is the HR platform,
right.
Rippling.
Yeah, that's fair. They are a big reseller.
Yeah, so they were leveraging SVB.
Not that I would recommend reselling through Rippling, but that's a different story for a different time.
That is, a lot of interesting things have happened with them. I've heard from customers.
Not a big good.
But they apparently were using SVB. No, that's true. They were using it a lot, or they were using it for their payroll service. I think that they were, offering customers. So that is a pretty critical component
to their credit.
Day-to-day operations.
They did claim that they would be able to cover it with their own funding, but there's I don't know. There's a lot of shady things that goes on with them, and I don't know if any of it, how much of it is legit or not legit or whatnot. But it's just their attitude toward things just gives me a bad taste personally.
I don't know if I told you there was another incident with one of their other services where they were inserting themselves into the order pipeline where instead of ordering from your CDW or your Apple business account. They were just fulfilling the orders themselves,
And
apparently.
failing to fulfill them in some cases.
And without the discounts that you were getting.
That's just wrong.
From the other vendors. Yeah, they send out an email and they're like, oh yeah, this is changing. And of course, not everyone reads those emails.
Of course not.
So that's apparently what had happened to someone, customer that I know. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the news topics that we are going to talk a little bit more about. So first one there is how Google became cautious of AI and gave Microsoft an opening. This article, that is an article there from the Wall Street Journal. An Ars Technica article here about Google dusts off the failed Google Plus playbook to fight ChatGPT. There's a Verge article here talking about how Google trashes the Chrome cleanup tool. And 9 to 5 has an article here about Chrome OS 111 is rolling out. We did, of course, talk about that last week. Some of the updates that are coming for that. And Google I/O has been announced. So more events on the horizon for Google that are going to be in person. So that one is coming up in May, early
more
May.
News about AI.
I think is it early?
How many things are?
I think the 10th
are being announced there. 12, 17.
Yeah. Next, relevant for all of us here on the Workspace side of things is that Google Current's migration to Spaces in Google Chat is happening.
Yeah.
So that is coming quickly here, folks. That is from the Google Cloud Community.
Yeah, I didn't
post.
include enough information there. Then, that's a whole massive QA guide. It's an awesome resource for anybody in Current, so don't miss that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that is post. That's part of the Google Cloud Community, so it's a post within that community there. Also has some embedded videos, lots of key dates in terms of the timeline of what's been happening in regards to those changes. And then finally, the Google Workspace customer newsletter. It looks like there's just another
month
published event or published article
featuring
there.
Google Workspace recap in the podcast section.
Of course, as usual. Yeah, is that just down there at the bottom? I was scrolling. This is a long article.
It's a long newsletter. It's a lot of stuff in
post.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
But there are navigational links up at the top. So if you click. Can't talk tonight. Click on podcasts. You'll see that, as well as what do you call it? Workspace After Work shows up there as well.
Yep. Interesting. Look at that. So it's. Oh yeah, they got the Workspace After Work podcast added there. Look at that.
Troy showing up with us.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah, Charles mentioned that to me. I think Charles heard about that too.
Well,
so he was wondering
Charles
if
listens
come
to
across
our show,
it. I'm like, yep.
So, yeah. Love it.
All right. Let's jump into those updates. So the first one that we have is those additional details for the updated Gmail experience on Android foldable devices. So last month, and of course on our episodes, we talked about some of those improved chat, meet, and Gmail experiences on Android foldable devices and tablets. To provide some additional details on functionality, Gmail supports a new 2-pane view in landscape orientation only. So that's now available if you have some.
And
of those
that's
devices.
By the way, that's the update. The learn more links to the Workspace updates recap post from February 24th.
Okay. Yeah. So not much to say about that one. Yes. Next, a little update here to Google Voice. So you can start to indicate your voice availability with a few more options. So you can now customize your availability for the following with all calls, direct calls, and calls from specific ring groups. And if one or more of those ring groups, for example, are unavailable, calls will be forwarded to the next available member of the group. You can start to, better customize these, and gives you more flexibility to manage those ring group availability in Voice without the need to sign out of Voice or block all incoming calls using Do Not Disturb. So a little more granularity there in terms of how to manage those different types of incoming calls. A rollout for this one is going to be starting on the 6th of March on for both rapid release and scheduled release domains on a full rollout with 1 to 3 days for feature visibility. So that should be out to everyone already by that time you listen to this. Next, there is that refreshed interface for Drive, Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Start to get that new Material Design 3 look and feel, something that I have been using for a little while here. And, it's, generally okay. I think there's, some initial, reluctance to the new design, the way it looked.
I like it.
I've kind of gotten used to it now. I've kind of gotten used to it now that it's been out for a little while. Hopefully they've taken some of the feedback that we've all provided, and I think some of the ways that the Drive, like the Drive file interface functions a little bit more like a Windows file explorer is what I didn't really like too much. But I guess
such
as more and more.
What about it is more like Windows Explorer?
Oh, it was like, how in Windows Explorer you have in the new Windows, not like Windows, what was it? Windows 10, but 11. After that, I think 11.
Well, they haven't come out with 12 yet.
When you went into the File Explorer, the default behavior was that when you select files, they're tick boxes. And that's what Drive does. And I don't like
boxes? You mean instead of just opening it directly? Drive used to act like a link.
Drive used to, there wasn't the box to select multiple files in your list. You had to control click, right? Or shift click. But now the default is to, it has the tick box there on the file itself.
But for most people, they're not going to know to do keyboard shortcuts like we do.
I don't know, but it's just that's one of the first things I disable on a Windows machine. Is that that's one of the first things I disable. I hate that. That's why I really don't like this. I always customize. I go into Finder and I say view file extensions.
I say you do
show. Or no on Windows File Explorer,
Windows
right? Explorer. Explorer. So I go in and I turn on file extensions. I turn off that tick box thing, so it's just normal selection stuff. And I think there's another thing I do. Maybe it's it's not show hidden files, but something else that I change in this customization there. That's the first thing I do every single time I log into a new Windows machine is make edits to that.
I don't actually log into new Windows machines that often. On occasion, I had set up one laptop for a project I was working on where I needed an on-site device, and I set up a laptop just for that so that I could remote into just that. But
it's VMs. It's mostly Windows VMs for
the most part. So I work everything in the cloud, so I don't really have a use for that all that much. I mean, you can do VMs in the
servers in the cloud, but I guess that's where they're at.
I'm not using the traditional type interface. I'm using more SaaS products. So personally,
Yeah, so some of the improvements here, talking about simplified user interface at the top of your doc sheets and slides to help find frequently used actions a little bit faster. Some experience improvements for comment and commenting and background rulers and grid lines. It does make a little mention here that while there's no changes to functionality, some features have been relocated to reduce clutter within the new interface. So it may appear as if things have changed or disappeared, but they will still be there. Still have to find them. That's all.
Shout out to the screenshot team. Yep. They're huge.
Nice. There you go. Jesse's favorite. Nice big animated GIFs.
Yeah, whoever's taken those pictures obviously has the big monitor this week.
Yeah. Rollout for this one is staggered here between rapid release and scheduled release domains. Rapid release domains, we'll see this starting on the 6th of March with a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility. Scheduled release domains, we'll see this start on the 22nd of March with a 1 to 3 day rollout for feature visibility. And available to all customers that are using Workspace as well as personal Google
and this
accounts.
is the update that we've been hinting to for weeks here, as we saw it leak, and then last week it dropped the day we did the show, and now here we are. So I've already seen it in 2 of my accounts, and I think it's going to be rolling out real quick to most people here. And so far, so good. You know, it's very clean, especially when you narrow the windows down as well. It just automatically jumps or bunches things together and hides things well. It's a much smoother overall interface, in my opinion.
Do you use the compact custom or compact cozy or standard view on yours? Do you know?
Docs?
I don't know. Drive, for example.
Drive. Drive. I think I'm on normal because
drive density.
I like to see everything. In Gmail, I'm definitely on normal because I like to see everything.
I usually always put mine into compact mode.
No.
So I can get.
I'm all about screen real estate, so you know me. Got lots of real estate, so I'm going to use it.
You have it on the laptop though. That's
I do actually have it
most compact.
So in this account, my other account, I didn't even notice that. Let me turn it back to the other one.
That's what I thought.
I'm going to turn it back to normal and see what happens. Comfortable. Cozy. This is not really descriptive, people. Which of those is small? Which of those is large?
Compact. Come on.
Compact is small. Okay, where does cozy fall? What does cozy? At least on the Gmail side, it shows you that it's going to remove the attachments from the emails when you switch between them.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you much of a preview in the Drive interface when you go to change.
All right, feedback for another time. I'll fill out the form.
Yeah.
Onward.
All right. Yes, onward and upward. So next we have those new updates for Google Meet on Poly Android-based appliances. So these are some updates here that are going to be coming to Google Meet hardware experiences on like the Poly OS 4.0 update as part of the Poly X Studio X Series family. Let's see here. You can try this experience out ahead of the official launch by downloading the current beta candidate for their Studio X Series device. So there's some info there if you contact your Poly account team or reseller. So probably not that easy of an update to do, but if you need to test it out, that's the way to do it. So this will be the new Meet hardware experience will be available on all Poly Studio X Series family once they've been updated to the Poly OS 4.0. And let's see what some of these new updates here are. So
doesn't really say.
Yeah, it doesn't really say what the new update is, does it? Just says there's going to be some new stuff.
Google Meet hardware experience talked about in the past, so it's probably just that.
Yeah. All right. There'll be an update coming to the Poly X30, X50, X70 with support from some additional devices over time here. It is going to be coming out on a extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days, starting on the 9th of March for both rapid release and scheduled release domains. But again, if you need to test that out sooner, it's pretty much just, I would say, wait for it, because I'm sure that the effort to roll it out a couple days ahead of time is probably not worth it. Just wait for it, it sounds like. Next, we have the ability to manage Android devices, or that managed Android devices must upgrade to Android device policy in March 2023. So there is an announcement around the changes happening to Android device management back in 2019, which is that Android device policy will be replacing that legacy Google Apps device policy client. So now Google is in the final stages here of the upgrade. And all devices with Google Apps device policy will lose access during March 2023 if they have not upgraded yet. So make sure you check and see that your devices are all using that new interface or that new version of the Google Apps device policy app.
Interesting.
So check that out in your list of devices.
Interesting wording on this. Must upgrade to Android device policy during March 23. Will lose access during March 23. Where's the drop dead date?
I know, right? I was thinking the same
Weird.
thing. Is it? Yeah. Do you have until the last
Right?
day of March?
It's during.
Is it? I mean, has it happened already? Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
what do you call it? Literary slip up, I suppose. Usually they're very specific about these things.
Yeah.
It'll shut down on this day. You must do it by this day. It says
Right.
during. I don't know. Devices.
Yeah. Even in the article from back on 2020, just mentions that the update is happening, in March 2023. There's no
Rollout
specific
pace
date.
says devices on the
month.
old agent will lose access during March 2023. Like, weird.
Right. Yeah. So during March 2023, make sure you get updated. So just, check it out now.
Now available during March 23.
Yeah. Maybe a new intern wrote this. I don't know. In somewhere where
There
English
you go.
isn't the first language, maybe.
I hope that your performance review isn't based on our comments.
Yeah.
Just try to be nice.
Roll-up pace for this is that it's available, now. The updates you need to make needs to happen this month. So as an admin, like I said, check your device list to make sure that you don't have any devices on the old interface, the old device policy app. And this will affect both customers who have basic and advanced mobile management. So it is not just for the advanced mobile management folks. It will be everyone that is using either basic or advanced. So, all right, last but not least.
That's it.
I think that was last,
My
wasn't it? That was last and least. Yes. Over to you, Jesse.
All
Any
right.
news?
So, more talk about AI. Get used to it. It's going to be sticking around for a while. How Google became cautious of AI and gave Microsoft an opening. For those who've been paying attention to Google's efforts in AI in the last, decade, possibly more, you'll see a company that really was continuously moving forward. I won't say that they were particularly hustling, but they were moving the ball forward. They were pushing the edge of the envelope continuously. They had multiple teams working on multiple angles, whether it's robots or, vision or understanding, just different levels of AI, and even turned many of those into products, but it wasn't AI. And AI didn't really, explode until ChatGPT turned it into conversational AI. And that is something that was very easy for people to understand because, we, converse with machines. That's a whole different or a whole new level, including passing the Turing test, which is kind of held as the gold standard for AI becoming alert or aware or, similar to humans. So this article goes in to talk about the background there and the fact that, the years of development that they've been doing here over their AI efforts have been constantly hit with controversy over the engineering and the research they were doing. You'll remember they fired the whole AI ethics team at one point, as well as one of the engineers who claimed that their AI had become sentient. Honestly, some of the conversations that you could have with ChatGPT, you might feel the same way. So, more cracks starting to show in the.
Have you started to see more and more controls and responses that are saying, "Hey, ChatGPT is limiting what is going to respond with"?
Yes.
Over the last few weeks,
Microsoft's
right.
as well.
It wasn't nearly as many before.
They definitely rolled all that out, and a lot of that was because they realized that because it continues the conversation and it tries to pull information from what you feed it. If you feed it crap, you're going to get crap, and I'm holding back there because if you feed it Nazi shit, you're going to get Nazi shit, right? That's where this goes, and that's what Microsoft is also a little bit wary about, given that they've had problems with this in the past. Anybody remember Tay? And that's one of the reasons why Google has been so cautious about this and keeping stuff under lock and key because of this exact effect. Is they can't screw this up. They saw we had one fact that was minorly incorrect and the stock lost enormous amounts of value. they can't get this wrong. And so that's why they've kind of slowed down, and that's what this article goes into. Some of the history here of Larry Page back then, CEO in 2013, hired Ray Kurzweil, who's a computer scientist, helped popularize the idea that machines would one day surpass human intelligence, a concept known as technological singularity. And at the time was working on multiple chatbots. So this is nothing new, and Google definitely has things behind the scenes here, which we're starting to see coming out into different areas and different leaks of things that are coming out, as well as some of the technology in that was actually talked about this week with robotics and what it's able to do just with natural language. So don't count them out of the game yet is essentially what I'm saying. And if you're interested in the background story of Google's development efforts and why Microsoft saw their opportunity here and said, we're going to take it and try and grab a foothold here in search. And certainly they have, because Bing is now using something like 100 million users are using Bing. I don't know if it's going to last, because a lot of us are just checking out the new Bing AI and piecing out after that, but I guess we'll see. But definitely interesting strategic move by Microsoft. So if you're interested in that whole story, go and check it out. Now, continuing along that conversation, and I called this weeks ago when Google declared a code red, but an article here from Ars Technica that Google dusts off the failed Google Plus playbook to fight ChatGPT. And by extension, obviously, Microsoft and Bing. So the article starts off years ago, circa 2011. Google was in a panic and goes on to talk about how, Facebook was the social network for everything. And Larry Page at the time issued a decree to everybody that said your bonuses are now tied to Google's success in social. Build social in everything. Fast forward to today, your bonuses are now tied to Google's success in AI. Put AI in everything, and it is already happening. And that Google I/O that we talked about earlier, that I will talk about in a moment, there are going to be, 12, 17, 85 announcements having to do with AI into all of Google's products. So there is not going to be a flood. There's going to be a complete deluge of announcements around AI, and Google is gearing up for a serious fight here. But if you're interested in the comparison there in this article, definitely go and check that out as well. And like I keep saying, going to beat this one to death, but I really, really hope that they learned from some of their Google Plus playbook failures at the time, because what is now a pretty awesome service called Google Voice simply did not launch for many years because they pulled their best engineers off of Voice and put them on Google Plus. And then they kept Google Voice under lock and key for, 5 extra years when they had been using it company-wide to field 80,000 phone calls a day or whatever the number was from when they announced it in, 2018 at Google Next? I'll have to go back and check the slides later. But essentially here, when they pull resources, other things suffer. And I'm just hoping and praying that they didn't fire so many people that they won't be able to spread their resources around here, and that we'll be able to still continue to be moving forward in Workspace and other areas as Google tries to stuff AI into everything. And I hope that they really pull a rabbit out of a hat and come back fighting strong, because that's the Google that we all know and love. So bring it on, Google. That's that. Another long-serving tool here bites the dust, and as Google continues going through and cleaning things up, the Google Chrome Cleanup tool has been around for 8 years, and was an application for Chrome users on Windows that it would detect and remove suspicious or unwanted software. But apparently that can now be done directly through the web browser's safety check. It's built in directly. You don't need an additional tool, and so therefore they're getting rid of it. So essentially there was very, very, very little usage on this in the last couple of months, and so they are shutting it down. So if you're one of those users, say goodbye. All right, next up, Chrome OS 111 is rolling out, and FastPair for Chromebooks is finally here. I don't use FastPair, but it sounds amazing, and I certainly have benefited from the iOS version of this with my MacBook Pro, where it automatically connects to your googly devices, whether it's the Buds Pro or your Pixel, etc. Some other interesting new things that are coming down here are updates to the Bluetooth settings, a little bit of a UI refresh, and so on. So go and check that out below. Moving on, next is Google I/O has been announced. Not a whole lot of news around this. The usual traditional, what do we think is coming and when is it going to be and whatnot from all of the articles are out there. Honestly, there's no way to know other than it will be heavily focused on AI. That's the biggest thing that is definitely going to be showing up. This is a developers conference, unlike Next, which is cloud focused. The developers conference is heavily based on code and code capabilities and less so on the hosting and management and SaaS type side of things. So the event will be in person, just like I/O 2022 was, and Workspace 23 will be, and it will be with a limited live audience. So I guess they want most people to tune in online, but it will be at Shoreline Amphitheater in San Francisco, as it has been for the last several years. As far as I know, I don't know where it used to be before that because that's before my time. The actual date for this, sorry, I forgot to highlight this, is going to be May 10th. There we go. May 10th, 2023. Save the date. All right. If you are a Google Currents user, listen up. Or manager, for that matter. Listen up. This is an article you're not going to want to miss. This is from the Google team. This is the be-all to end-all, has everything in it from the event recording that they did of Google Currents migration to Spaces and Google Chat to key dates and migration timeline, including this March 15th, which is in a day after this episode drops, banners on the web showing migration date for migrating customers and product turndown date for non-migrating customers will appear for all Currents users. At the end of March, exact date still to be determined, the improved Currents takeout available to include all post data in JSON snippets. That's a funky sentence. And then March 31st, two things will happen: creation of new communities disabled in Currents for migrating customers, and the final opt-out date. All customers who are opted in after this date will be included in the migration. Admins can opt out of migrating by submitting a request via support, and there's a link here, by this date. So definitely go and check this out. This is happening, and get on board with all the details if you aren't fully engrossed in it already, which you most likely are. But there's a lot of good information in here, so definitely go and see what they've added here. And like Steve has said earlier, this is a long article. A lot of info in there. And then last but not least on the news side is our friends in the Google Cloud community have posted the Google Workspace customer newsletter for February and March. And this has lots of good tidbits and information in it. They have some highlighted content from the Google team. Some of it has already been covered here, such as the new updates to Workspace, as well as the Currents post that I just mentioned before. Some additional product announcements and updates from the Workspace blog, some how-to videos and articles that they have here. Just different examples and things and articles that are always helpful to everybody. And of course, my favorite section, podcasts at the end, which highlights all of our shows from the last couple of weeks. And I am working on getting them highlighted in more Google publications and trying to maybe even get Google to tweet about it. So fingers crossed and stay tuned there. And if you know any Googlers, definitely shout it out that you love Google Workspace Recap and that we're the best source for everything Workspace. So definitely go and help us share the word, share the love all around so that everybody knows about us and we can continue growing and expanding. And of course, our buddy Troy has Workspace After Work, his show, which we were just guests on, showing up in the podcast section on that as well. And that's a wrap on the news for this week. So that's all. Feel free to send us your questions and comments either in the comment section down below or in social media. And if this was helpful for you, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, let them know that we're the best, and have a great week. And we'll catch you next time on Workspace Recap.